Hello, welcome back to Let's Talk Shop. I'm really happy to be back with the second episode of the season. And, well, actually, the second guest episode of the season. And today I am joined by Lisa, who's the owner of House of Payne. And we are going to chat about how she's grown her wholesale. So, hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Therese. Thank you for having me on the show.
Love for you to introduce yourself a little bit and your business.
My name is Lisa Payne, and I'm the owner of House of Payne, which is a colourful art print and greeting card company. I print in two methods. I print digitally and Riso, and all of our greeting cards are Riso printed. And yeah, that's what I do.
I love Riso, and we'll get in more to what that is for those who's not sure. Gives like a really layered kind of screen printed effect. So it will be really interesting to hear more about that. Could you tell us where you're at with your wholesale now? How many stockists do you have, and how long have you been doing?
I have roughly about 40 stockists now, which I've recently just kind of like looked at and checked and didn't realize I'd kind of got up to that amount. So that's exciting. And mainly, so I sell like direct wholesale and to be fair. And I also did my first trade show in January.
And when did you start? How long have you been doing?
I'd say it's been about a year, just over a year. I think it was kind of like March time last year. Yeah, so just over a year.
It's not very long. So 40 is so exciting. You started with a relatively small range if you compare with some of the bigger greeting card publishers that has hundreds and thousands in their range. How has that affected you? Has it been received well with retailers? Has it been a challenge? What do you feel about that?
I haven't had like any negative feedback. I think like retailers obviously want to see newness like quite frequently, which I can do, but I just don't think that I'll ever have like a massive range of Riso printed cards. I think it's quite nice to like have a nice collection and kind of pull out the ones that don't work as well and bring in new designs, which still just keep the collection that I've got quite small and intentional. Because Riso printing is the way that it is a bit of a longer process. So yeah, it kind of needs to be that way a little bit. I think it's a lot easier with batch out loads of different designs and like print them quite quickly and easily. But it's just it's different with Riso.
A lot of small business owners, when I speak to them, they feel a pressure to say, my range is not big enough to start to wholesale or to grow my wholesale. Did you feel that pressure at any point?
I mean, no, not really. I think I've like covered most bases, like most themes with my greeting cards. And I quite like that it's small. I feel like that makes it a little bit more special rather than having like loads and loads and loads of designs where like, you've got 10 really good ones, but 50 ones that are okay. Like I'd rather kind of like keep it small and intentional and like a little bit more special.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I definitely think it's right for your business as well. But I also think that you can start to wholesale with a small range if anyone's listening. It's clearly possible. You have 40 stockists now and you're growing your range, but it's not like some of those massive publishers that we see at the shows. And it works, right? So, yeah. And you also do prints, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Prints are a bit easier because I've got a mixture of like Riso and digital. The digital is quicker to print. But yeah, I don't think it's been a problem for me having a smaller range, and I don't envisage that I'll ever be somebody who has a massive, massive range. I would rather, take some designs out and keep the range quite concise.
How do you educate potential stockists about your process? especially if they're unfamiliar with it, because there is some things that makes it unique. Like, for example, I know it's hard for you to offer completely naked cards because of the way you print them. So how do you educate potential stockists?
I guess it's just a conversation. Like when we're emailing back and forth, like I'll put a little bit of information in about Riso. When I was at Top Drawer, I made a little postcard that had some information about risograph and why I love it, so that people could take that away with them and kind of have a little read of it. I am planning to do an Instagram reel as well, which just gives people a little bit more information about it. But yeah, it's a very special technique, and I don't think everybody knows the ins and outs of it or like why it's so nice. So yeah, it's definitely something that I can keep telling people and keep talking about, because it is a really nice technique. I mean, some shops, so National Print Shop, I think it's called, in the Lake District, like a lot of their stuff is Riso. So they, like shops like that, don't obviously, they know about Riso already. I try to communicate it, and I plan to continue telling people about it as much as possible.
I love it. The easiest way for me to imagine it, if someone is listening and not watching, is that it kind of gives a layered effect. It's like screen printing with a machine almost, I would say.
I'd say that is what it is. It's an old Japanese photocopier, and you do have a master stencil, which is like a screen, and yet they use soy-based inks. There's like, you get a texture on it through the kind of master stencil that they use. But yeah, it is a screen print, but a machine. They're so like dissimilar to digital, like the cold press, so they don't use much energy. They never fully dry, so like because it's like cold pressed, you do get like a slight residue like on top of the paper, a little bit like when you buy new jeans and like it rubs off a little bit. But yeah, it has a very unique look. It's eco-conscious, and the craftsmanship of it is just, I just think they make beautiful designs with the texture and the fluorescent colours.
Yeah, the fluorescent colors are really nice. You can't really get the same fluorescency with digital, as I've seen
Yeah,
it at least.
yeah, definitely. It's what draws me to it, like the colour and the texture, and just the unique way that it looks is beautiful.
It's having a unique printing method. Do you think that has helped you when it comes to selling your products?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a USP. And I think, especially when I was at Top Drawer, it was something that I would talk about to people, because there's not as many people doing it. I mean, at Top Drawer, there was like a couple of stands that might have like a little bit on prints and whatnot. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be about in wholesale, especially that much. Like I would say it was more of a kind of like small maker, typically a small maker, arty kind of way of printing. Um, so yeah, I do think it looks different. You can tell it's Riso, and it does give me something to speak to potential stockists or existing stockists about.
And do you think that has come with some challenges for wholesale? Like when it comes to pricing or, lead times, digital printing is so fast now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had to work on the pricing quite a lot to make it work for wholesale pricing. It's definitely not as cheap as like some people can do the wholesale cards for. But again, I mean, I think that's what makes it special. Like it is like not the cheapest one, but it is intentional, and it has got lots of really lovely qualities about it. So yeah, price point, I've definitely had to work on. Production as well, like it is quite labor intensive. And then again, with the sleeves, I would prefer to have like less packaging, but because of this kind of like slight rub offs that can happen, it's important to keep, have a sleeve on so that it doesn't go on the back of the cards in front of it or behind it, sort of thing. It's definitely got some challenges, but I think that the positives outweigh the the challenges.
And has your read been perceptive to that? You know, when you explain to them that about pricing or anything like that, do they get that? Or the sleeves, I suppose, because that's all been a kind of hot topic for the last few years in greeting cards, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I have made a conscious effort to, when I've spoken to shops, to see what they like. Do they want sleeves? Do they not want sleeves? Like, I've kind of asked that even when I've been walking into shops. Um, and to be honest, I did think that most shops would want it without, but then like I do think it's been quite mixed. Like some shops don't really mind either way. Some shops just kind of get the cards how they come, and like some have sleeves on and some don't. I mean, some shops I think still prefer them because they feel like they don't get damaged necessarily. Um, so yeah, I think from my experience, it's been a bit of a mixed bag of like what shops want and whether they're actually bothered or not bothered. I do use biodegradable sleeves, so it's, you know, important that they're not plastic sleeves. So I think that helps. I always mention that. Different reactions from different shops.
And actually, anything to talk to them about is actually a good thing. It helps build the relationship, I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And when it comes to growing your wholesale and getting all these stockists, what has worked well for you?
I think consistency, speaking to stockists regularly, making sure that I'm in contact and that we're, you know, chatting to each other, and kind of not seeing it as a like us them situation, that it is like two people working together. I think maybe like very early on in my wholesale, maybe I saw it that way a little bit, but then like I think as time's gone on, you realize that it, you know, it's two people coming together, and you know, hopefully it can work for you both in a mutually beneficial way. I think I listened to your podcast the other day about fair and some makers kind of complaining a little bit about commission, which, you know, I do get that like it can feel like a lot of like money coming off it. But then as you said, like, you know, if you've got your pricing right and you know that you can afford to have that percentage out, then it's fine. And, you know, if you haven't done that, then, you know, maybe fair isn't the right platform for you to be on.
Yeah.
Seeing everything from both sides. I think on Instagram and socials and stuff, we do see quite a lot of like negative mindsets around things. And yeah, it's kind of basically understanding it from the other side and not just seeing it as like, oh, I've lost 25% on whatever, or yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of looking at it. You know, almost before we get upset about something, to try to see, well, why is that happening? Why do they
Yeah.
need it that way? If a stockist ask for a certain thing, there's usually a reason behind every business.
Yeah, definitely.
What has been your biggest challenge with starting to wholesale and growing it?
I think initially, like I was like procrastinated a little bit about my wholesale catalog. Like I wanted it to be just right before I started sending it to people. Once I got the wholesale catalog looking the way that I wanted it to look, then yeah, it was kind of fine from then. But it's that thing, isn't it? Of like, you know, you want things to be perfect, and sometimes you don't start until things are perfect. Well, or you don't want to start until things are perfect, but you know, you have to start at some point. You can't wait for perfect because perfect never comes. Is it? And I do think, like in business in general, like I've learned that more. That starting is better than not starting.
I think that you can only become confident with something if you start it. You can't wait
Yeah,
to be confident and then start it, because how are you going to get confident?
yeah, yeah. That's definitely something I've actually, because I think I definitely, when I first started, like in like being self-employed in general, yeah, I always wanted everything to be exactly right. But yeah, you learn to let go of that and just kind of like roll with it. And it's okay for things to change. It's okay to like try things, and if it doesn't work, try something else. Like if you're not experimenting and like trying different methods, whether it's like wholesale or like other parts of your business, and you're not changing or growing or like doing anything positive towards your business, you're just kind of stuck. So
Yeah. Someone once told me, I think it was Andrew and Pete, who runs Atomicon, they said, and it stuck with me, and I told lots of people that, the best business owners make fast decisions. And I think there's something to that. Like I'm a Libra, I weigh things up back and forth. And I mean, I could weigh it up for years. But, that doesn't get me anywhere. Sometimes I just have to make fast decisions. Obviously, still strategic ones and think it through. But in the end of the day, that has stuck with me that I don't have to have it all figured out to make a decision all the time.
yeah, but also that like it's okay to fail. Like keep failing, because like you don't get anywhere if you don't make those mistakes.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, you avoid failure, don't you? You're trying to, but like naturally, that's what you try and do. But I do think like you have to, you have to keep trying different things and making mistakes and like learning from those mistakes. And as you say, like if you make fast decisions, you're like closer to the right decisions.
Yeah.
And like, yeah,
And maybe also breaking it down to smaller decisions. Like if you make like 5 fast decisions instead of one big decision, you can adjust as you go. I don't know.
nothing's ever that bad either. As well, you always, if you make a mistake and you learn from it, then it's fine.
Yeah. And we all make mistakes. We're all human, It's inevitable. We cannot not make mistakes.
Yeah.
So looking back, how did you feel when you started to approach Stockists, and what has helped you build that confidence?
I think I definitely felt like more nervous at the beginning. And I do think you have to put like the work in before you start seeing results with it. Before, I had never done wholesale before, so I didn't really know anything about it. I didn't know like numbers or how it worked or what information needed to be on my catalogue or any of these sorts of things. So I think learning about like investing in learning about those things has definitely helped with confidence, like knowing that what I'm putting forward to buyers, is thought about and educated. I've done the research to know what it is that buyers need to know and my numbers and all that sort of thing.
That's amazing. I think also you have had an approach of, I'm just going to go for it. And I like that.
Well, I mean, the other option is not doing anything, isn't it? Like that's not good.
No, I mean, at least it won't get you where you want to go. What would you say to someone that is holding back from pitching to retail buyers, whether it is because they feel their range is too small, that they haven't got everything figured out, or whatever they might be feeling? What would you say to them holding back?
I mean, kind of just what I've already said. You have to start somewhere, and the longer you don't start, the longer it's going to be until you get a stockist. So the earlier you start, the more chances you're going to get a stockist quicker.
So one of the questions that I am trying to ask everyone at the end of this season is to really celebrate what you've achieved so far. So what has been your proudest moment in your wholesale journey? I know wholesale journey sounds so cliche, but what has been your proudest moment so far?
I think definitely like my first Oliver Bonas order. I think that like Oliver Bonas has always been a shop that I've loved the product, and I do think my product fits very well like with them. So yeah, getting that first order for like a bigger high street retailer was really good.
And it's nice to see that they ordered other things too now. Yay! And before we go, can you share where people can find you and buy from you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is House of Payne, and Payne is spelled Payne, MCR at the end. And my website is the same. So it's www.houseofpaynemcr.com.
And I'll pop that all in the show notes. So it will be there, linked below. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And if you're listening, thank you so much for listening. We will be back with another episode. These will be weekly now, so it will be another episode the following Monday for you. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Lisa, for coming.